Hey, hi folks. So in last video we talked about and covered theory behind data analysis, right? Or exploratory data analysis as we saw. Now what we'll do is we'll review some of the questions, right, that are uh, you know asked in your last few year question papers, right? So I have just taken, across your years and just taken the unique of those questions. We'll discuss, some of those here. So let's go through the first question, right? It's talking about in data analysis, why should you create subset of your data, right? So you can actually, read through the options. It's talking about to increase the size of your data set, to make data set easier to analyze, to add extra information to data set, or to add noise to the data, right? So as you can see it, you can apply, the process of elimination, right? So if you are just creating more subset, you are definitely not adding any kind of noise. So option D is gone. Just having subset, you are definitely not going to add any extra information. So option C is gone. And if you take subset anyway, you are not talking about increasing the size of your data set, right? So in that sense, it is option B that is appropriate, right? Which talks about that to make the data easier to analyze, because many a time you could be having a lot of records, and this helps you understand at least subset of it and patterns thereof. The next one is actually, fill in the blanks kind of question, but it is asking about which table represent percentage of data point that fit in each category, right? You might have seen it, two-way relative frequency, as we actually covered, in a bit of detail. The next one is, what does a distribution represent in data science, right? So they have given two options: the exact value for a variable and how often they occur, or the probable values for a variable and how often they occur, right? Uh, and then C and D are average values and maximum values, right? So as you know, actually, this is exact value of a variable and how often it occurs is, what defines a distribution. We'll look at the next question, right? The value of Z score, right? Um, and it is saying if the value of Z score lies above the mean, right? So what will happen? Positive, negative, zero, or infinite. So for this, you have to apply your Z score computation, right? You might remember um, for individual data point, right? Xi or X, right? You subtract the mean from it and divide it by a standard deviation, right? How you compute a standard deviation? You take a squared sum of difference from the mean, and you know then divide it by total number of samples in your data set, and then you take a square root of it. So this is a positive number, right? Uh, so if your um, Z score, right? If the value of your Z score is above the mean, right? Uh, it means what will happen? If you subtract mean from it, it will having a positive number, and so in that case, Z score will always be positive, right? Then this one is actually talking about, which is the correct order of steps, right, for solving a statistical problems or process. So option A is talking about collect or consider, the data, formulate a statistical investigative questions, analyze the data pattern, and interpret the result. So of course, actually, I think first step will always be about collecting, the data, right? The second option is about analyzing the data, then interpret the result, then collect the data, right? So without collecting data, you can't do any investigation, right? So option B is gone. C is talking about look at your formulate a statistical investigative question, then collect data, then interpret result, and then analyze the data. Sometime this could be important. So let us hold on between A and C, because many a time what kind of data to collect, right, will depend on what kind of investigative questions you have in mind. So let us hold between option A and C. And then D is talking about formulate a statistical investigative question, then collect, consider, analyze, and interpret, right? Uh, okay, so in option C, anyway you can't interpret before you analyze the data. So option C is gone. Option B is gone because before collecting the data you can't do. So now we are left with option A and D, right? And if you see analyze the data, interpret the result, right? That's the correct order. Now the choice is whether you first collect the data and then formulate what question you want to investigate. If you see better option here, we'll be actually having some idea about what you want to do, right? So that's why you go for option D. The next question is, what is the primary goal of exploratory data analysis, right? So to build predictive model, to summarize data, to perform hypothesis testing, or to explore and understand data. So quite obvious it is option D, right? Okay, so these were the typical 5-6 questions around EDA. I think there will be few questions on univariate and multivariate analysis. Let me just give me a minute. We'll try and scroll through it. Okay. So this is also kind of covered in whatever we have discussed yesterday, right? So this is saying that what is the name of the statistical measure which divides the data into 100 equal parts, right? So you might have seen in previous video what is decide 10 equal parts. What is median? 2 parts, right? What is quartile? 4 parts, right? So what divides in 100 different equal parts? Percentile, right? That's the option A. No, this is a wrong explanation, right? The option here should have to be A, right? Decide divides it into 10 equal parts. Okay. Then what is the name of the statistical measure which divides the data into 4 equal parts, right? So that is quartile, right? What is the process of combining 2 or more data set into single data set called, right? So basically when you are joining them, right? Let us look at the next one. What is the middle value of a data set when it is arranged in ascending order, right? So that's the median. What are common graphical methods used for conducting bivariate analysis, right? So a scatter plot and counter plot, a scatter plot and pair plot. I think counter is a bit wrong here. This should be contour plots. Contour. Okay. Cluster is done for when you have more than 2 variables, so we can actually leave that option. Contour is again important, significant when you have at least 3 variables, so we can actually leave option A as well. This is not counter, this is contour. And scatter plots and pair plots, right? So yes, this is the correct answer. Okay, so we will stop here. We have actually covered some of the common question that has been actually kind of asked in your MCQs. In later videos we'll take some of the long questions that has been asked. Okay, yeah.